Hi, my name is Jennifer. We're here to work on coordinating and releasing the lower back. The tool we'll need is a blanket. I have a yoga blanket, but any blanket will do, or you can use a bath towel. You want to fold your blanket or towel into a medium-sized rectangle where the longest side is a little bit wider than your shoulders. And then we're going to turn the blanket so that the shorter side of your rectangle is closest to you. Roll up your blanket into a tight roll. This will make a thick roll for the low back. Now we use a bigger roll in the low back than we do in the upper back, and that's because you already have an arch, a natural arch to your low back. So we need to have a bigger roll to turn that arch into a little bit of a back bend that's supported on the roll. That's the great part. Place that roll just behind the hips, and we're going to rest onto our elbows. Good. So far so good. Keep the feet planted. We're going to press into the feet, lift the hips away from the floor, and then allow the upper back to rest down onto the floor with the head. Now, the placement of the roll is important. For most people, it's good to have the roll in the low back arch. Now, how do you find that low back arch? So, we find these pokey hip bones up front. There they are, and then we draw a line from those pokey hip bones to the floor. Now that line will skim past the bottom edge of the roll, the edge closest to your feet. Then we know that the roll is on the low back and not on the hips or the glute area. And you can have movement in the hips, so the hips can move up and down. And that's what we're going to do here to coordinate our low back. So, first, press the feet into the floor. Get a little bit light on the roll, so that the pressure is light. The low back is barely touching the roll. And then as slow as you can, get heavier and heavier into the roll. Allowing your weight to rest down into the roll. And when you feel like you can't get any heavier, then let the hips tilt over the roll. And this is where you might start to feel some stickiness, some aches in the bone of the spine. It's just a little bit rusty in there. And doing this exercise will help to get rid of that stickiness, that rustiness in the low back. Good. Press into the feet, lift, and get light on the roll. Good. And then slowly get heavier and heavier. And when you can't get any heavier, then allow the hips to tilt over the roll. Second time can feel a little different. Good. We're going to take a few breaths here. Deepen your belly breath. Press into the feet again, lift, get light on the roll. And slowly get heavier and heavier, letting the hips sink over the roll. Good. Walk the feet to center and the knees touch. We're going to go gently back and forth with the knees, keeping the movement small, both feet planted on the floor. Okay, so a nice gentle movement, swaying the legs back and forth. And this will help to work into the connective tissue in the low back. So in this area where the roll is, we have a lot of tendons and ligaments, and we have a lot of fascia. And this is all for stability. Now, at times when we sit maybe with a flat back, or maybe we have a flat back normally, and we don't have much of a low back curve, this tissue can get quite tight, and it just holds in a protective state. And this, you can feel in poses like downward dog. When you go into downward dog and you're just feeling that in the low back, it could even go to the hamstrings. The muscle's just not wanting to release, or the tissue just holding. The pressure of your body on the roll is going to help this tissue. It's going to bring circulation into this area and flush out the area of any kind of tightness. Now let's pause on the right side with the knees. We're keeping the knees about 1 inch or 2 from center, and both feet stay on the floor. Taking a few deep breaths here. But when it comes to the bones of the back, so the spine and the sacrum and the SI joint, in this area, a lot of the things that we sit in during the day hold us in a kind of a slouched or a flat back position. So we need to remind the bones that they can go into extension. They can go into a natural curve of the back, and they could even go into a bigger curve like they would in upward dog or little bridge or full wheel. Slowly bring the knees to center, and then going to the left side just a little. About 1 inch or 2 from center, relaxing there. And so when you're feeling a little bit stiff in the low back, or maybe you have some pain in the low back, this is a great option to do. 10 minutes is perfect, and it will help to bring some release into that area. Slowly bring your knees to center, and bring your feet hip-width distance apart. Press into the feet, lift, take your time, and get light on the roll. It can feel a little bit awkward or have some high sensation. That's completely normal. And slowly get heavy again, and let the hips tilt over the roll. Good. Press through the feet, lift, and get light. Then get heavy and let the hips tilt over the roll. Perfect. We'll take 5 breaths here. Press into the feet, lift, get lighter and lighter up off the roll till you lift up off the roll. Grab that roll and pull it out to the side. Let the hips sink to the floor. We're going to extend the legs one at a time. Let them relax fully. Taking 5 deep breaths here. Good. Bend your knees. Plant your feet. Your right hand goes to your right ear. Extend the left arm straight up to the ceiling. And roll to your right side. Coming up to seated. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Namaste.